welcome to the weekend warm-up from here in Austin, Texas with me and him, where I'm Will Buxton and he's Lawrence Barretto. Hello, mate.
Oh, hello, mate. It's so good to be here, isn't it?
You look cold.
I'm a little bit cold. That's okay.
Can we check out the shoe game before we start?
Thanks.
Proper Texas shoes.
I got caught up in
Boots.
the moment here. I
You
thought,
really
well,
did,
I've
didn't
come
you?
to Texas, I've got to get some cowboy boots.
Yeah, but you're
right?
still in your skinny jeans.
I know.
And Daniel told you earlier that you have to put the jeans over the boots, but then you would hide the magnificence of the boot.
Exactly that. And also skinny jeans over these look
You're not
really,
gonna get them
really
over,
silly.
are you?
No,
Not gonna get them
exactly.
over at all.
Fashion tips from Daniel Ricardo. Love it.
We are so happy to be back at the Circuit of the Americas, and we are also incredibly happy to welcome a new member to our F1 TV family, Mr. James Hinchcliffe.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
How are you, my friend?
Very, very well. Happy to be here in Austin. Happy to be back at COTA.
You say back because you have, of course, raced here.
Yes.
What can you teach us about this circuit?
Well, I got the opportunity to go around earlier today in a pace car.
Can I just say, first and foremost, this
Yeah.
is a new philosophy with looking after sunglasses.
Well, you know, you gotta have them somewhere.
I love that.
You don't have them.
That is
sitting
novel.
Yeah. Well, you can use that one.
I will. Sorry.
So
You're going to tell
back
us
to
about the track. Yes.
Back to the track. Massively challenging place, right? Such a long lap. So much opportunity to make time, but also to make mistakes. Great mix of fast corners, slow corners, and what's so funny, talking to all the drivers here, in these cars, compared to an IndyCar, this is a very bumpy circuit, which is hilarious for us. 'Cause, like, compared to some of the street circuits we race in IndyCar,
This is like a billiard table,
it's a
right?
dream.
Yeah.
This is a dream. But in these F1 cars, especially this year, with the way the ground effects are working, cars are a lot stiffer. You're running them low, so a lot of the drivers are a little bit nervous about going down that hill coming through turn two on that first practice session. Really see how the bumps affect the cars.
It's going to be fascinating. Before we get started previewing this weekend, as always, we like to look back on the last weekend. James wasn't there, I wasn't there, but you were, Lawrence.
I was. So it's all down to me, isn't it?
Down to you. You got 30 seconds.
Ready?
Do you need a minute?
No, that's all right. I'll do
Sure.
it in 30 seconds. Yeah, of course.
3, 2, 1, go.
So it was actually a very short Grand Prix, of course. We got 2 laps under the safety car at the start. No, we didn't. We got 2 laps of actual racing.
Going well already.
I know, tell me about it. But then the race stopped. We had 2-hour wait with 15 minutes to go. Max led away from Charles Leclerc. Max went on to win the race. Charles Leclerc finished second. He got a 5-second time penalty. That dropped him behind Checo. That actually made Max world champion. But by the time he was getting interviewed in Part 5, he didn't actually realise he was world champion. So I found out very late. Esteban Ocon, great drive to P4. Held off Lewis Hamilton. Some great battle in there. Sebastian Vettel up there in P6. Fernando Alonso P7. George Russell P8, Nicholas Latifi scored points in P9, and Lando Norris got T10.
Do you know what? 40 seconds. You can have that.
Ah, thanks.
You can have that.
Thanks.
You can have half points.
Okay, I'll
Should
take
we
half
get
points.
into half points,
Let's.
3/4 points, all of that?
No, let's not.
Let's not get into that. We shall get on to this weekend, though.
Yes.
Shall we? What should we start with?
Red
Should we start
Bull.
with Red Bull?
Yes.
Hinch, come on in, my man. Red Bull. What do we know? We don't know a lot about the budget. You're all going to ask what's going on with the budget cap. We don't know. And that is the genuine, honest truth. It has been very much since the announcement that Red Bull were found to be in breach of the budget cap, walls up, closed down, no information out of the FIA as to how much or when or what any penalty might be or when we might hear. So we just need to get that cleared off just off the bat. So I think that's...
I mean, you've summed it
There's
up
not
perfectly
really much
now.
more we can say, is there?
No, we can just talk about the fact that Red Bull can win the Constructors this weekend.
Yes.
Ferrari have got to outscore them by 19 points. They've only done that once this year in
Which
Bahrain.
was Bahrain. Yes,
So
it was.
it's going to be difficult, isn't it, to keep it alive? And even if they do, it's just a matter of time, really, isn't it?
What have you made about Red Bull this year, and in particular Max Verstappen, the way that he's gone from that first World Championship last year to the second this year?
Well, it couldn't be any different, could it? I mean, coming down to the last race, tied on points going in the last race, one position was the difference, and you fast forward a year, 4 races to spare, he's wrapped up the championship.
Yeah.
I mean, in a lot of ways, I kind of feel bad for him. Let me be very clear. I don't feel bad for Max Verstappen for a lot of reasons.
Formula One World Champion.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
But you think there was some, controversy surrounding the win last year, right? And then this year, as you mentioned earlier, Lawrence, he didn't even know he was world champion until 20 minutes after the fact. He didn't really get to celebrate the way that you see that championship celebration. So for me, I really hope that Red Bull do lock up the Constructors' Championship this year, and it can kind of be like a bit of a group celebration. You can celebrate as a team, really enjoy that atmosphere, but Max can also kind of be honored a little more and enjoy the moment a little more. As a driver, that's such a special moment, and I feel like he was kind of robbed of it last year.
A little bit.
Or sorry, this year.
This year. Why don't we hear from Max Verstappen? Lawrence caught up with him earlier today.
So what's the last week been like as world champion?
Still a little bit busy, to be honest. I had like 1.5 days at home initially, but then I started to do some filming, some simulator work at the factory to prepare the upcoming 2 races, and it was okay. I mean, it was just nice to be home as well and just take your time off and just really chill out, to be honest.
Still got half the job to do, I guess, with the Constructors' Championship this weekend. How are you feeling about this track and this car this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we are, of course, going to try to win it here. I think it's, of course, in general, very important to us to win that title, but at the other hand, I mean, it needs to go severely wrong for the last 2 races to not win that one. So I'm not too stressed about it.
And so to Ferrari, who, after starting off the season brilliantly, as you said, Lawrence, 1-2 in Bahrain, never really happened for them this year. It's just about pride for the rest of the season, isn't it?
It's just about pride, but it's also just about, I think, planning for next year. That's just as important for them now. 2022 is gone, it's lost, but they can focus now on 23 and try to close that gap, I think.
And with that in mind, I'm hearing rumours about a potential engine penalty this weekend, maybe some 23 upgrades on the Ferrari, or is that uncertain?
I haven't heard that. But I mean, to be honest, like James was saying, they want to make the most of these last 4 races to try and learn about the car. Carlos was saying actually in the TV pen earlier that a win's super important. Like, they just need that buzz of getting a victory, because they really haven't had that all that often. Carlos was the last win at Silverstone.
God, was it that long ago?
And Charles won in Austria. Like, it feels like a long time ago,
it
doesn't
does.
it?
It's almost half a season ago now, isn't it? We're down here now at Mercedes. 4 opportunities to get that win this year. Yeah. Will they?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so, if I'm honest. Not right now.
You're on no.
Yeah. Not their lack of effort, not their lack of ability, we know that, but I just don't see it happening. The dominance we've seen out of Red Bull, and then you also have to overcome Ferrari. I think it's too much.
They do have a new front wing this weekend.
They do, but George was insistent that that's all focused on next year. He's not expecting big gains here. I think it's going to be a difficult weekend here, specifically for them.
Why don't we hear from George, who again Lawrence caught up with earlier.
Hey George, I know Merc have got some upgrades this weekend, and I appreciate that you're probably going to say they're not a massive step. It's just great that progress continues at the team as you try to make a step forward.
Yeah, not really a massive step, but we're trying. Everybody's working incredibly hard at the moment to bring stuff forward, to almost try and test ahead of next season. I think we're in a position now that obviously the season has passed us, and the championship was probably out of reach a long time ago. But we're trying to use these last remaining races as a chance to test some things and make sure that we've got all the information for the team back at the factory to work as hard as they can over the winter, in the wind tunnel, to give us a fighter for next season.
Quite a good weekend in Japan for Alpine.
Oh yeah, and specifically for Esteban Ocon. Like, what a drive. He's been one of the most underrated drivers this year, I think. Quietly got on with it. Been putting Fernando Alonso, double world champion, in the shadows. Fair play to him, and he held off Lewis Hamilton for most of that race.
That was proper elbows out driving. I mean, we know Lewis as inarguably one of the greatest of his era, one of the greatest of all times.
For sure.
As a racer, can you imagine having Lewis Hamilton tucked up behind your rear wing for an entire very wet Grand Prix?
Well, it's the ultimate test, right? I mean, he showed his strength, his mental acuity when he won that race in Hungary, right? He had a lot of pressure, but he held it off. Same sort of thing. They weren't going for the win, but as you say, you got the most accomplished Formula One driver ever in your mirror for that amount of time. And I love the fact that Hamilton, after the fact, talked about how much fun it was.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Fernando's not having a lot of fun. Some communications issues between him and the team meant that the strategy permutations that they'd worked out pre-race weren't applied in race. He's still spitting about it today when I spoke to him, but confident that they can stretch their legs over McLaren for the remaining races of the year.
Well, they're the 4th best car really at the moment, and they should be.
They should be further ahead, shouldn't they?
I think,
but as Fernando keeps saying, they've lost so many points this year through reliability issues. Their upgrades are working. The work they've put in on that car this year is astonishing, but it's the reliability that keeps letting them down.
Yeah. It does seem like their wet weather pace is great as well. I mean, they're probably one of the teams that's praying for a little bit of rain this weekend. I don't think they're going to get it, but there's no doubt about it. The car is working well.
These guys have got it all to do in the last 4 races to try and hang on to 4th in the championship. It's going to be tough for them.
I think the difficult thing with McLaren at the minute, I think, is they really haven't kicked on from the start of the year. They really struggled with the brakes, and they've really struggled from there on in And I feel bad for them. I feel bad for Lando because he had some momentum going. Daniel's obviously had all the problems that he's had, and it's been difficult. He's shown a turn of pace, I'd say, the last couple of races. The results don't really show it, but Daniel's really picked up his game across those Asian swing.
Now, on Friday, FP1, keep your eyes peeled. A number of rookie drivers or young drivers will be taken to the track. One of them down here at McLaren, a guy you know very well, Alex Polo, of course, an IndyCar champion.
Yeah, 2021 champion from the IndyCar season. Got his first win of the 22 season as defending champion. The last race of the season was kind of a weird one for him, but yeah, getting his first opportunity here in FP1 for McLaren, incredible for him, incredible for the whole sport, I think. He is such a massively talented driver. He's so bright, he's a very intelligent driver. I think that's why he's taken to this F1 car so well. So much more to do from inside the cockpit in an F1 car than an Indy car, but he's adapted really well. A few tests that he's done, Barcelona, most recently in Austria, and he's just over the moon at this opportunity. He knows his track a little bit, but I know he's really, really excited to be here getting his first FP1 appearance.
Phenomenal stuff. And of course, one driver who loves this place perhaps more than any other is Daniel Ricciardo.
He does. He came in on a horse this morning, which I enjoyed.
Horsey McHorse, I believe.
Yes, it was Horsey
because
McHorse.
you've done it, is that right?
2014, we had to get the brown flags out at pit-in because they left a little message.
Okay.
As the horses tend to do.
As they do.
Imitation's the greatest form of flattery.
Exactly. But yeah, in his boots, giving you advice. Should we roll the interview?
Yeah, let's see what he's got to say.
Let's do that.
Daniel, I'm pretty disappointed you haven't rocked up to the pen on a horse. So where is the horse?
Blue needed to go eat. So I said Blue, and everyone's probably like, wait, that's not its name. It's Horsey McHorse. At the time of the pass, we didn't know Blue's name, so Horsey McHorse, I think it was, which is also great. It's Blue's nickname. But yeah, it was kind of funny. I mean, it was obviously very silly and obnoxious, but it was fun. So bring some life into the paddock on a Thursday, and yeah, win in Texas.
Well, I loved it. Your form, I think, of late has been really strong. I know the results probably don't show it. Looking at these final 4 races, what's possible?
Anything is... No, that's not a song. I shouldn't sing anymore. I sung a bit last night, hence me semi-losing my voice. No, what's possible? I'm certainly, like, I feel, as you say, like, I think even Japan was a relatively strong weekend. It didn't show on paper, but there was a lot of good things that I think we found and that came from the weekend, and personally, so I'm excited for the last 4. I mean, I'm excited for this track. I find I always get like 2 tenths extra here just being in Texas. So let's see, but happy, excited, pumped, motivated, fired up.
And so to AlphaTauri, who have quite a lot of work to do in these remaining races.
Yeah, this is a season where I think if Franz Tost was hopeful, it would have been top 5 in the Constructors' Championship, but they've never really had a car to compete like that. Pierre's been frustrated throughout the year. Yuki's shown real moments of glory this year because I think he's really improved as a driver, but they just haven't had a car underneath him to score regular points.
Of course, Pierre Gasly's moving on at the end of this season. Nick de Vries is joining the team alongside Yuki Tsunoda. Random fact, they will be the shortest teammates in Formula One history. The previous record held by Anthony Davidson and Takuma Sato when they were teammates. Now,
so what's their average height?
Is that a true fact?
That is a true fact. That is a true. But there is relevance here. It's not just random stats. Because they are of a similar height, they're also not the tallest in stature.
Right.
That helps a team in terms of placement of ballast, and also with 2 drivers who are of a very similar height in terms of creating a car around them, I would imagine.
No, for sure. I mean, you saw, certainly in years past, where there's a massive differential between the drivers, a huge challenge for the Indy. It's not just height, it's things like shoe size, right? The area in the pedal box can get quite tight. So shorter drivers, smaller feet, it just gives you more room to work with, which is going to be massively advantageous. But you have a rookie, quote unquote, coming in Nick de Vries, a little bit of a misnomer, I think, because of his experience and the championships that he's won. And then, you know, Yuki's still sort of learning. It's going to be interesting to see who really steps up to kind of lead this team next year, I think.
That, I think, is the key point. Who is team? Well, obviously, Yuki will be the team leader in name. How long until Nick potentially takes that from him, or will he? Moving on to Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso will want to come down here and be team leader, of course, when he joins next season. Sebastian Vettel, though, I feel is now starting to really feel quite emotional about his Formula One departure. He loved that Japanese Grand Prix. He loved the fight. But the fans just embraced him that weekend. Do you Can you imagine that sort of sudden rush of emotion that he will get knowing that there's just 4 races of his career remaining?
Yeah, at some point it was going to happen, right? Every driver that's in this phase, they're doing their final season, they know it's the final. At some point that decision was made, fine, you go through a few more races, but somewhere around this point, it really hits you that, oh no, this is it, this is the end of it. It was so great for a place that means so much to him in Japan to have that kind of race. Brilliant drive from him. I think in a lot of ways, he's probably checked out of some of the off-track stuff. He's just focusing on driving the race car, enjoying the experience and the opportunities, and I wish him nothing but the best for these last few.
What did you make of his drive in Japan?
I thought it was mega. I think it was you talk about like the lack of pressure that he's really suffered since he decided that he was going to call it quits, I think, at the end of the year. And it hadn't really worked out for him. And then he's had a couple of races where really actually the performance is coming back. And I'm not saying he's regretting his decision, but I genuinely think Japan was that moment where he thought, you know what, I'm not going to get that buzz, that rush anymore. And I think now we're going to go into the final few races where he's going to be a little bit sad, I think. It's really going to hit him that he's leaving at the end of the year.
Well, we don't have many more opportunities, so let's hear from him. Seb, how emotional was Japan for you? That kind of realization from that fan base that loves you so much that the end is drawing ever closer.
It was a bit sad. I mean, it was an emotional roller coaster. Obviously, the race on Sunday was up and down. With facing the wrong way in turn 1 after the first start, and then coming back so strongly and finishing 6th. Yeah, but it's a place that I love and I will definitely miss. For sure.
And the race that you had, the run to the line, fighting all the way through, does that remind you of what you are going to miss about this sport?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of elements, or there's a lot of elements that I love, and you know, I'm still a very fond fan of. But yeah, I am looking forward to what's coming next as well, and looking forward to the future. But for sure, these moments, will be missed for sure.
Logan Sergeant preparing himself for an FP1 run on Friday, very much in the mix for the driver market.
Yeah, definitely. I was chatting to him this morning. He's super excited. We had some engineering briefings. I can't believe how relaxed he is, right? He's coming into this weekend in front of a home crowd, getting his first opportunity, but knowing that if he has a good result this weekend and gets the super license points that he needs at the end of the season, he very much could be in the car next year.
All the talk about Colton Herta. And we might get an American in Formula One anyway.
It's kind of a funny twist, isn't it?
No.
I mean, Logan's name wasn't really mentioned at that point when all the buzz was around Colton, but like you say, we've got the U.S. team at Haas, and now potentially, if this, as you say, if this session goes well, you could have that American driver, and that could really, I mean, not that it needs a bigger boost in the United States right now when it's absolutely blowing up here, but it could help.
Stars and Stripes in the garage this weekend. Are they running a different livery this weekend?
They have a special livery that you can go see downtown in Austin, but they're not
running it
on
on the car.
No.
What's all that work?
I know, it looks
And they're
so
not putting it on
good
the
as
car.
well.
I saw that, and I hope they were running it on the car, but they're not. One team who is, we'll get to in a minute. We need to talk about Alfa Romeo as we're getting down here. Now, of course, Joe Guan Yu confirmed once again for next year. Valtteri Bottas. Yep. It's gone into a bit of a damp squib this year, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think Valtteri's form, or at least reliability-wise, has gone off the cliff, hasn't it, really? It's just been a terrible season. Where I think for Joe, he's really gone on an upward trajectory. Qualifying, I think he's really improved. He's so much closer now to Valtteri. And Valtteri, of course, used to beat Lewis Hamilton in qualifying. So I think that's a pretty impressive
Not all the
feat.
time.
No, okay, but like his final year.
Enough.
His final year, I think, he was probably the better qualifier. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. But I think what's been really impressive by Joe is just he's taken all the setbacks he had, that crash at Silverstone, and he's really not let it phase him. They've got some upgrades this weekend. They had some upgrades in Japan, which worked really well. So actually, I think these guys could have a real strong end to the year, and they still want P6 in the Constructors. That's their aim.
Teo Pourchaire will be in FP1. Bittersweet for him, because he'd hoped to replace Joe.
Well, it was a
next year.
shootout between the two of them, wasn't it?
Yep, and he just didn't get it done in F2 when he needed to. Right, let's move on. Let's finish with Haas F1 team. Hinch, this is interestingly a team that said they were never that interested in having an American driver or embracing Americana. You know, they were here to be an international team, and yet they're running Stars and Stripes on the car this weekend. They've just signed a new American sponsor for next year, title partner, MoneyGram Haas F1 team. It will be next year. Not ruling out the possibility of running an American driver in the future. They're fully embracing it now.
It's about time, honestly. It's a race team. You got to get the best of what's available, right? But at the same time, there's a lot of good American talent kind of coming up, whether it's from stateside or that's growing up over in Europe right now. So I think it'd be silly to not at least look at that. Like you say, the sponsor is going to play a part of it. Let's be honest, money talks. And so with an American company, I think it's probably more impetus now and more, pressure on them to maybe start looking that direction. But hopefully they can find someone at some point.
2 seats remain, Lawrence, in Formula One for next year. One at Williams, one at Haas. Who do they go to?
I think at Haas, I think it's between Nico Hülkenberg and Mick, and I think if Mick can have a strong end to the year, then I think he's got a real good chance of holding on to it. If he doesn't, then I think Nico Hülkenberg's in that car.
What do you make of Kevin at the moment? Because let's be honest, he's not roundly beating Mick as regularly or as often as we might expect him to.
No, but I think, in all honesty, that's probably Mick just turning it around a little bit in the last few races and really closing the gap to Kevin. I think if you ask Kevin, he'll probably admit that he hasn't ended the season as strongly as he started the season. But I do think that Mick has improved in the last few races. It could just do with causing less damage, really.
And those were the words of Gene Haas, asked at the weekend in Las Vegas at the NASCAR race about Mick Schumacher's potential with the team for next year. He said Mick is too expensive because he has too many crashes in the car. Sounds a bit harsh. Did it hurt Mick's feelings? Some words out of Gene Haas at the NASCAR race at the weekend, that you were too expensive for the team. You're costing them too much money because of crashes. At a time when you're racing really well and actually quite a lot of the time outperforming Mick, did those words hurt?
Outperforming myself?
Oh, I'm sorry, outperforming Kevin.
I mean, I can try to outperform myself, but it's kind of difficult
it's
at the
kind
time.
of hard, right?
Obviously, I think we've had some really good races in the past couple of weeks and weekends. Very, closely missing out on the points for a reason or another. But we're definitely still very much focused on the next few races, trying to score those points.
Giant flag.
Well done. All
1
right.
point. 1 point. If you don't know the rules to giant flag, they are still posted on, I think, platform 4 of Yokkaichi train station.
Okay.
Brilliant. Jolyon Palmer's joined the show. Nice for you to turn up, mate.
Better late than ever. What did I miss?
Oh, so much. You'll have to watch it back. You guys went out and did some laps today, though. Tell us how that was.
It was a blast. It was great. I get one outing a year. Last year it was Jeddah, and I had one flying lap to talk around, and I had no idea where I was going. It was like left or right, high-speed street circuit with the walls there. I knew my way around this one, and it was nice. And I had the expert alongside me who's driven it more recently. We had a nice time.
We had a great time. We both got to take a couple laps, both got to run front seat there, so it was nice.
Being a passenger, I found, was horrible. It was quite exhilarating, even for me, because I've done like once a year I get these hot laps, but I feel like my whole career, I'm never the one in the passenger seat. So it was nice to be driven around as well.
Lovely stuff.
5-star from a Uber driver, I think.
There you go. And you will get to see that pre-race show. Pre-race show, just had that confirmed. Hinch is going to be in the commentary box all the way through the weekend because Jolyon's being a traitor and is going to be commentating with somebody else. But you're going to be doing our pre-race and post-race and pre-quals and all of that, so Jolyon will be with us. But before we end today, of course, as always, predictions for the weekend. Lawrence, we will start with you, sir.
I'm going to go for a Checo win.
Ooh.
Max second, Charles third.
Interesting, Hinch.
I mean, I'm going to be super original here. I think I'm going to go Max to win. I could see Carlos having a good day, maybe P2, and Checo P3.
Okay.
Championship's over. Going to be a little bit of chaos. Everyone's going to be having a bit of fun. Lewis Hamilton's going to take the win here.
Whoa.
He always goes well at this track. Yeah. Mercedes been building it up a little bit. Hamilton for the win, and then we'll go with a Carlos second and a George third. Where are the Red Bulls and where's Leclerc? Who knows? Carnage.
I always get chewed out when I say Mercedes are going to win, and they never do, so I'm not going to predict it just on the off chance that maybe they might, because, as we were saying earlier in the show, they put in so much work. Maybe a win might be a nice reward for them for the year. So Max is going to continue his dominance and take the win and celebrate in the way that he was not afforded in Japan. Lewis Hamilton second, Charles Leclerc third. There we go.
All very different.
Isn't it? For once, that's what happens when you've got all of us lot doing it. Right, thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed the weekend here in Austin, Texas. But for now, from Lawrence, from Hinch, from part-time Jolyon, and from me, we'll see you later. Thanks so much.